I think we've all met that person before. You know, the know-it-all, the smartest man in the room, the rules lawyer, the intellectual. Well, these big brain boys can be found throughout Warhammer 40k, from the Necron, Trazen the Infinite, to the Emperor of Mankind himself. However, one entity is so tricky, so scheming, so dastardly, that he ruins his own plans.
That are alive and coming with me.
ZX Spider-Man Commodore 28 and 64. I hit the floor, I hit the shore. Got game skills from days of yore.
That's right, today we're talking about none other than the blue bifurcated bird boy himself, the Chaos God, Tzeench, the Changer of Ways. There is some irony in my first 40k video being about my least favorite of the 4 Ruinous Powers. Perhaps some cruel machinations are at work here? In any event, here we are, so let's get to it. Tzeench is one of the 4 mighty entities in the Immaterium, otherwise known as the Warp. Some people call them gods, others call them the Great Enemy. And Tzeench sits amongst their number, planning and scheming away. Tzeench is, to put it very simply, the god of the mind. Cleverness, duplicity, half-truths, long drawn-out manipulations are his jam. He is the patron of conspiracy theorists. You know, or that guy who claims he can predict what other people will be able to do. He loves gossipy rumors in a high school, or a pin and twine map of the events on a wall explaining the JFK assassinations and a grassy knoll. Plans in schemes, within riddles, within machinations. That's Tzeench. Besides owning people with facts and logic, he is also the biggest nerd of the Chaos Gods, sponsoring the most sorcerers, psychers, and cults that do the hoodoo voodoo. Tzeench loves magic, of all kinds, and encourages his followers to practice as often and as much as possible, instilling horrible secrets on some of them to boost their understanding of it. Naturally, those who get his favor tend to go a little nuts. His favor isn't always a 4th level fireball, though, as mutations of the sudden, graphic, and violent type is one of his many gifts. After all, your current form is so standard, still, boring. You should change it, as radically and as often as possible. More eyes, mouths, wings, tentacles, all sure to make your form and make you a better version of yourself. Especially all at once. Change for change's sake. Right now, do it! These spontaneous, seemingly random, but totally planned bursts of magic, madness, and mutation can even be seen in Tzeentchian demons. Writhing masses of gibbering mouths, tentacles, and flesh moving across the ground. Screeching, manta-like beings spitting fire as they fly past. Large bird-like creatures in robes, clutching staves and attacking with volleys of unspeakable sorcery. His cadre of demons seems to share no rhyme or reason in shape and ability to each other, and that's just how Tzeench likes it, damn it. And this is the really annoying part about Tzeench, and the only reason the other Chaos Gods can really keep him in check. While he can manipulate, outmaneuver, and straight up bamboozle just about everyone and everything, he has no endgame. He is the god of plans, not conclusions. He has spent millennia dreaming up perfectly good plans to overthrow the other gods, overtake the Imperium, and wipe out every single Xenos race that oppose him. But that would be boring, so he sabotages that plan with another plan he cooked up. Because of this backwards-ass self-sabotaging, the other Chaos Gods find him both really annoying and potentially dangerous at the same time. You see, while the other gods can plan and are rather good at it in their own way, that's all that Tzeench ever does. So he will always mess with you. Because... Speaking of the other Chaos Gods, Tzeench and Khorne do not get along for 2 big reasons. First is that Tzeench just can't get to the point. He will spend decades planning out an attack, and a counterattack, and a feint, and a fallback plan. Meanwhile, Khorne looked at the fortifications, sent in a team of warriors to hit the weakest point, and either won or lost. Done. That divides them almost as much as the second thing. Magic. Tzeench is the god of outsmarting the other guy. So why fight fair? You could trick him with illusions. You could summon demons to fight for you. You could just light the other guy on fire. Khorne is a god of martial combat. So he really takes offense and even gifts his warriors with anti-magic collars so they could stuff the nerds in the lockers better. Tzeench's biggest detractor isn't buff boy Khorne, however, but the decay god, Nurgle. Very simply put, they contrast and contradict each other entirely. Tzeench plans ahead, demands change, and is always coming up with new things. Nurgle embodies decline and stagnation. Under Nurgle's rule, nothing changes. He likes it that way. You're perfect, just the way that you are. This makes absolutely no sense to Tzeench. Why would anything be perfect when it could be more perfect? Finally, Tzeench and Slaanesh don't really bug each other all that much. Tzeench just doesn't see the point in carnal pleasures, torture, or sensory stimulation, which is what Slaanesh is all about. What's the point when you can get your kicks plotting and puzzling and screwing people over? On the other end of it, Slaanesh doesn't get the overthinking aspect of Tzeench. It takes way too much away from the moment. You could focus on flaying that guy alive over there and enjoying the screams now, and worry about the next guy later. They just move in different ways, and they don't outright oppose each other. Now, while Tzeench has no endgame for the galaxy, he does have plans, and they do come to pass. The best example I have is what happened to Magnus the Red, Primarch of the Thousand Suns. The Thousand Suns were a Space Marine legion during the Great Crusade of the Emperor. They were filled with powerful psychers. Cursed with horrible mutations. And they tended to study dangerous, forbidden knowledge. This was not helped by Magnus himself, arrogantly dabbling in actual demon summoning, while also claiming there was nothing to fear from the warp. When the time came for Magnus to answer for his arrogance, he struck a deal with Tzeench to save him and his legion from the wrath of the Emperor. The cruel part is, due to a botched spell, most of the Thousand Suns got reduced to rubric marines, walking suits of power armor, their flesh being reduced to dust, and they now blindly follow commands like drones. Very deadly drones, but they're not alive anymore. That's the very short version of what happened on the Thousand Suns. I will talk about them in their video, and I will elaborate more on Magnus himself in his video. But make no mistake, Tzeench had his creepy little beak in Magnus's ear, whispering the whole time. And of course, finally, I'd be remiss to miss one of the more interesting aspects of Tzeench, his domain in the warp. Each of the Chaos Gods kind of have this section of warp, which is this ever-changing morass of emotion and displacement and demons. It doesn't care about time or space, but there's these 4 sections that are dedicated to the Chaos Gods themselves because they are powerful enough to shape the reality around them. Tzeench's domain is referred to as the Crystal Labyrinth. It is this fractal maze of mirrors and shapes, and it's like a kaleidoscope of space. You're walking through a kaleidoscope that's ever-changing and shifting, melding and reforming and ripping itself apart. This fractal maze is actually by design, as in the center is Tzeench's tower. Again, an ever-shifting, ripping, melding mass of geometry and construction. This thing has no floor plan, as it would be impossible to map it out, as new rooms are formed, destroyed, swallowed up by other rooms, cease to exist. There is no way to actually navigate this thing unless you're Tzeench himself or perhaps one of his greater demons. Thanks for tuning into Beefsnake Nerdcast. I have been Bolter, the greater demon of Tzeench, whispering in your ear to corrupt your souls and bring you the gifts of change. Find me on the socials, if you can. And of course, tune in next time when I discuss the Flesh Terrors Space Marine Legion. Another 40k video that I picked at random off my mind map. Just as planned.